No, do it to the cloud. Okay, well, we're going to start. We have a light group here, so maybe that means it'll go fast. Who knows? We'll try to be as efficient as possible. I did want to do like a somewhat of a lightning round of introductions. If you can just say your name and what your current role is. And anything else you might want to tell us, like how long you've been a volunteer for CISV. I can start. I'm Janet Reynolds. I'm the chapter development committee chair. I've been volunteering for about 20 plus years, and that's about all I have to say. I do a lot of the IT work around here. So if Rita, you want to go next?
Sure. My name's Rita Hassan. I live in Knoxville, so I've been with the Smoky Mountain chapter. We started about 14 years ago. So we were, my husband and I were president for about 3 years, and then I've been in various positions on the board. Over time, I've been planner for a village, and I think that's as close as I've gotten to, we haven't done staff or anything like that, but we've been on the board off and on over those years. So.
Who next? Katoya?
Sure, I'll go next. Katoya Wilkins. I'm a part of the Jacksonville chapter. I've been in the chapter about 6 years. My current position is president of the chapter. I've also served as a co-VP of programs with the amazing Lisa Taylor from the chapter. Jacksonville chapter has been around almost 50 years. I think in 2026 we'll celebrate 50 years. So
Nice.
long history of the chapter. I have 3 kids, and I learned about CISV at a one-on-one session, and I've been a part of the chapter ever since. And my kids have done pretty much actually, youth meeting. My daughter will be doing it this summer to Brandywine, so that's the last
All right.
program. Yeah, that's the last program that we haven't actually participated in yet, and my daughter will be doing it this summer.
Great.
So, yeah, nice to see you guys.
Jason? Oh, you're on mute. Are you driving? Is it safe?
No, I'm in the passenger seat.
Okay, good.
If you're wondering, thank you for the concern. No, I am in the passenger seat. So my name is Jason Krzyzak. My family has been involved with the Detroit chapter of CISV for about 10 years. We've had 3 children who've all participated in the various programs. And now that they've all kind of aged out, they were looking for someone to serve on the board. And I felt it was a good way to give back to this organization, which has benefited our family so enormously. So I am in my first year as vice president of the Detroit chapter.
Okay, so when will you be president?
I don't know. It'll probably be next year.
Okay.
It'll be. I think the way we're doing it in Detroit is so you serve 3 years, 1 year as vice president, then president, then a remaining term as vice president, and then we try and rotate that arrangement.
Okay, thank you. Megan?
Megan Fiscus. I am in the Columbus chapter. This past year, I have been the leader and step up chairs and also the local leadership trainer. Our chapter has suffered a lot of, as you said, aging out of the leadership roles. So we even have many spots that were not filled at all this past year, but we survive continuously. And I'll be leading a group of kids in a step up to Norway this summer.
Nice.
Yeah.
Do you know what location or chapter?
Rogaland.
Okay,
Yes.
cool.
Yeah.
Lucia, you're last from our intimate little group here.
The best. Hi everyone, I'm Alessia. I'm from the Miami chapter. Right now I'm the chapter president, been there for the past 3.5 years. Probably keep going for a bit. I think we don't find someone.
No president-elect.
Not yet ready, but okay.
Mhm.
And I was secretary before. I just started later on in life with CSV, but through the kids, experience through the kids, my kids have been going through most of the program. One still has some year ahead to experience the step up and the older program. And that's it.
Gotcha. All right. Well, thank you. This is about board retreats and visioning. And I would like to know by, you can have a show of hands here, how many of your chapters have board retreats like at the start of sort of like the year? All right, so Jason, okay, Columbus, maybe not. No. Okay. All right, well, very good. So you all are somewhat, not all of you, but you're somewhat familiar with the concept of the board retreat. And this session is not really going to instruct you how you must do a board retreat, because people will conduct these in many different ways.
Want me to pass it back to you?
When first, I think there might be some chapters who have a different timeline, but typically, oh, my internet connection is unstable. Great. All right. Well, hopefully this is all going to work out okay. So I ran them for many years, and I ran them in a certain way. I'm a very, it's your chance to like think strategically about your chapter, and also to get the new board all on the same page. So I'm a pretty analytic person. So I would come into these board retreats when I was president of the Brandywine Valley chapter, and I would have a lot of data and a lot of structure. There was usually food involved. Over the years, I found out that you probably should do the food last and not first, especially if you're having drinks. Because as soon as you put alcohol in the mix, everybody just wants to party and socialize. And socializing is all good, and sharing a meal is really nice. But it is hard to get people to like focus on, what you're doing. So in the, Rita, since you have the sharing, can you share your screen and go to the chapter development drive where these files are?
All right.
But that said, a lot of other people, when they have their board retreats, it's a little bit different in that, maybe there's not so much data oriented, trying to figure out, okay, what are our biggest problems based on, the statistics that we have, more like, how do you feel about where do you feel about like how we're doing in certain areas? What are our biggest pain points? How can we have a strategy of where we want to be in 3 years? If you're a new chapter, that goal, that lofty goal is, how are you going to host your first program to become a full chapter if you're a developing chapter? So that could have a lot, like to do with what your strategy is. if you don't have any JB presence at all, you know, maybe one of your goals is going to be, how do I strengthen our JB and support that such that we have a thriving JB in 2 or 3 years. So this is on the shared drive, and hopefully you all have access to this. If you don't, you can contact me. I can give you access either through a Gmail account or a CISVUSA.org account. So there are 3, I think, sample. Let's see, can you show that as in the details? Oh, okay. So, you know, this is just, we have 3 samples of agendas from different chapters. And, you know, this one is scoping out. Usually there is some discussion about the national calendar. You want to review the national calendar with your board. You want to talk about CISV in motion, or this year will be CISV Connect, and who might go to that. I actually think like goals might be a kind of a tough thing to discuss immediately, because maybe that's more of a discussion point. Maybe other people on the board have a different view of what your goals should be. And you might talk about, you know, volunteers and volunteer needs. So you can go through these sample retreat agendas and just see what some other chapters have done. If you guys have, like, 3 of you already have board retreats, and you probably have some kind of a structure to them. No need to reinvent anything. Just pretty much do what the last people did. So, but if you're not having a board retreat, you know, Megan, you can go back to the Columbus chapter and suggest that, you know, at the beginning of your year, if you're like in September sometime, that the chapter president conducts a board retreat with everybody. These are so much better done in person wherever possible. I know that's very difficult for some chapters that have a very widespread board, but as you know, it would be pretty, you know, pretty tough to run one of these things. I don't know, it's just so much more fun in person. And so wherever possible, board retreat should be in person. If you want to close that one out, Rita.
Okay, I had one comment on, it says start with Energizer with the JB. We did try to incorporate the JB board in a portion. They sometimes had like separate meetings, but we tried to overlap enough that we could at least do some planning calendars, you know, bringing their events and what we knew when we needed to have even the board meetings and everything, trying to get everything on the calendar at one time. Trying to do that, and that we usually did it in the summer. It was very helpful to do that.
Yeah, that's a good point about the JB. That is a very common part of a board retreat, is to include your JB board.
Not seeing where to get back here.
You can just close out the tab, because I think you can.
I think it was just
okay
up there. Maybe I'm not sure. Okay. Let me get this moved down. All right, and the second one, is this one going to come up? Do we redo it?
Yeah, I think that'll be fine when you. Well, I hope it will be. Yeah. Right. This one has a bit more about kind of like educating. Like, this is where the local leader trainer would educate the board. You know, intro to CISV training, and then, which is a good time to do it because you're all together. This one is including the roles and roster, which is something that's due on September 1st. Good time to do it, and to also highlight to the existing board where you have your holes and absences, where you need people to step up. Could be a good place to review your bylaws and your tenure hosting plan. And also your annual budget. I can guarantee you going through all these things, 20 minutes is low for all that stuff, but they're all suggestions for things that you can start out your board retreat with. Yeah, and then this one has the lessons learned exercise, which would be sort of like a brainstorming session on where your pain points are and where you want to improve. And then this at the end has what should our annual goals be, or maybe goals for 2 to 3 years.
And we're going to talk more about the brainstorming.
Yeah.
Idea.
Yep. And then the second page is just a it's a an icebreaker activity, so you can start out by doing an icebreaker activity. Okay, you can close that one up. And then yeah, there's a third one in here. They go through, they have kind of a different format for these, and I'm not real familiar with this one. So
yeah, I could talk through this if you want me to. This
okay.
was ours.
That would be great.
Yeah, this was actually our PowerPoint, so it's not so much an agenda, but you can get the idea. I think we used it last year. This particular session, we were talking about 2 different types of conversations or discussions: convergent thinking and divergent thinking. And it's really helpful when you're on a board to know like what the goal is. We had a little video that explained the differences, but one is when you're brainstorming and you're not looking for a solution. You're maybe this, maybe that. But people who are trying to do these 2 things at the same time, it doesn't always work. So if you're trying to solve a problem tonight at this particular meeting, and it's at that point you're trying to converge on a solution, and you're trying to look through the possibilities and so forth. But anyway, we just discussed those 2 different ways of looking at things, and there's a good video that went with that. So that's where we were there. We did a portion here where we just looked back at what we had accomplished. We did have a little chapter business to take care of. We talked about our vision, mission statement, which we're going to get into more details in a few minutes. We looked over some issues that had come up in the interchange survey. And then this diagram here is just roles. It's just a way that I had kind of divided things out. Looked at the different positions on the board. And again, like Janet said, looking at what positions we still needed help in and so forth. So that was just kind of a little rundown of our meeting. So
no matter what your board retreats look like, there is no like one way to do a board retreat. Whatever is helping you look strategically at your chapter. For those of you who do board retreats, did you see anything that you felt was like that your chapter does that was sort of missing from those? Anyone? Or is that pretty much what you do?
Yeah, that looked very, very similar to the board retreat we had in the Detroit chapter.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's fairly, standard.
Mm-hmm.
I will echo 2 points that were made earlier, and just to reinforce the need for in-person. I know some chapters, like you said, but I really feel like we benefited from having that in-person conversation. It's really, it seems really more dynamic, I guess, in person. I think Zoom is great, especially for chapters that are challenged with distances, but I would definitely encourage everyone to do it in person if they can. That was a great benefit to our chapter. And also second the part about the food. Yeah, leave the food. Like we actually did ours in a like a natural intermission, like a break, which gave us an opportunity to kind of relax for about a half hour and eat the food, and then come back and focus on the agenda. So, but yeah, that looks very similar to what we've
Okay,
done.
great. I see Reggie has joined us.
Hey, yes, hello
Hello.
everyone. I just got out of another call.
Yeah. Well, thanks for joining us. And what is your role?
I manage our local programs and our mosaic
Okay.
in Jacksonville at the Jacksonville chapter.
Oh, great. Okay,
Yep.
thanks. So we were just going a little bit into board retreats and, you know, different formats and how pretty much no format is, you know, any worse or better than others, whatever works for your chapter to take a break and think strategically about where you want to be in the future. Yeah.
Sorry, what we did the past 2 years was also to include the chair, like not just the board members, but also
Okay.
like
Mhm.
the mosaic chair, the merchandise chair, not for all the entire duration of the retreat, but maybe we first do work with the board and then after lunch, you know, have them come. Just to give also an idea what was the plan for the board, their role, like kind of review what their achievements, what they've been, you know, success or what was not working throughout the year, also for the chair. And we got positive feedback by the people that attended, and it was for them an opportunity to see more how the board work,
How you run.
we are involved, and for us maybe to have possible people to step up.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Maybe they won't be so scared to be a board member.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's a good idea. All right, Rita, I'm going to hand it over to you now.
Okay. All right. I am going to share my screen again. All right. Can everyone see the PowerPoint? It says chapter board retreat. Everybody can see that. Okay. All right. I know, especially if you're on your phone, some of it might be hard to read. So I've tried not to put too much on the slides, but it helps keep me on track here. So anyway, we're going to kind of run through a couple of things, maybe some techniques for brainstorming, maybe that you might not have thought of, just when you are trying to look at where you want to go down the road, do some visioning about where you want your chapter to be heading, and looking at your strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. And some of these terms, you know, I feel like they change over time, the vision, the mission statement. Some of that it gets a little, so I'm going to try to go through that and see why it is important. All right, let's see here. Okay, just starting with an example of something we did at one of our first retreats, and you can tell we took pictures of the blackboard, you know, just as a way to kind of keep track of things, but we didn't have whiteboards, so you know it was a little while ago. But we had one of the board members had access to a great retreat center that we got to go spend the day, and so we did a meal and everything, but it was a good chance to get away and just not be under such pressure to be getting all of the normal things done that have to be accomplished every month at the board meetings. So we asked a question. We had the JB and the adult board present, and we asked, what issues does your board consider when planning an activity? And of course, you know, the adult board, and I went through here and transferred these over so you could read them. The adult board, I'll just go over these, which you might probably expect. Well, where are we going to have it? Where's the facility? We want a good turnout. How are we going to fund it? How much should we charge? How are we going to do the registration process? When, where, when, and what, you know, time. How do we get the word out? Who's going to chaperone and staff? How are we going to transport kids, food, safety, risk, and activities? Those were the things that came out as being concerns for the board. And the interesting thing, let me show you the junior branch board goals. And of course, they are responsible for planning. We're thinking about something like mini camp that they would be planning. So they are also concerned about the location, readiness. They want to make sure they have, you know, they're going to be leading activities, so they want to be comfortable and ready to go. Communication. I think that was more with each other on the board, trying to coordinate things. Advertising. They wanted the event to be welcoming to newbies. They wanted to have new activities that were along the theme, educational content, debriefing that may be covered up with, says debriefing afterwards. And then they wanted a good participation. They wanted the people who came to be active and participating. And, you know, it just kind of, I don't know, does anything strike you about those two lists? And again, you may not be able to see them, but depending what you're watching on, but
No.
you know, for me, it was a different perspective. You know, they do look at, you know, their board was looking at different things. And I think it's true, like you said, even if you have chairs from committees involved, there are different perspectives than, so it was kind of interesting, I think, to realize they were very concerned with the content and the actual, what was going to happen at the camp. We were more concerned with the externals and the strategies. But it does help sometimes to look at that. So that was, we did kind of a brainstorming activity right there. That was just an example. One of the things that they suggest, if you're have a group of people that are brainstorming, you want to have a facilitator who's trying to guide the conversation in such a way that you do allow for everybody to participate. Let me just run through these. The topic should be well defined and focused to start with. At least you want to make sure everybody knows what we're talking about. Encourage creative ideas. And there's not supposed to be any evaluation of ideas. So, you know, just record everything that is said so that you can, you know, kind of follow different paths, and people are free to participate, throw out their ideas, and encourage participation from everyone. So those are things that a facilitator can keep an eye out to make sure that one person is not kind of putting ideas down or doing the whole conversation. So we'll go back there 1 second here. Okay, so that was, that's just kind of general tips for brainstorming. And the next activity, we're going to be doing that a little bit. If you come to a point in your retreat where you're wanting to evaluate your chapter's strengths, weaknesses, opportunities and threats, the SWOT, SWOT, you'll want to be using those type of brainstorming ideas as you go through these. So if you're not familiar with this, okay, that's fine. So these 4 different areas, you know, strengths and weaknesses, those are internal attributes. So a strength might be that you have an active JB. You may have a great person who your JB advisor, or maybe you have a lot of new people coming in 1 year. I know we're all hoping that we increase the participation. I think especially getting the volunteers to get involved. But in strengths and weaknesses are internal to the organization, and then external things, opportunities and threats, those are the positive and negative, but things that kind of come from outside. And let's see. I'm going to switch over if I can here. I'll stop my share and open a whiteboard. And if you can't do this, depending on if you're on your phone, it might be a little difficult, but maybe you can tell us what you'd like to put in here. But all right. So I can get this big enough for us to see here. I put down some examples.
So I'm not seeing this.
Let's see, close whiteboard. I'm not sharing. Let's see.
Oh,
that's
no, yeah.
That's I need to share.
It says I'm viewing your whiteboard.
Oh,
but for whatever reason,
but I don't know if I stopped sharing. Let me just do it right quick here. Sharing your screen will close the whiteboard. No, it should be open. So you're not seeing a whiteboard?
Does anybody see a grid?
I see like a navigate your workspace and it says press H or right click. It looks like it's loading.
Oh.
Like buffering.
Ah.
Okay. We'll see. We may just have to talk through this. Anyway, right now it's just showing the 4 areas: strengths, weakness, opportunities, and threats. And I was going to have us go through that, but we may just kind of talk
so
through.
You have it up. Let me see if I can't.
Yeah, it's showing. It says you're collaborating and I'm presenting.
Super slow then. Can you close it and see if I can open it?
Okay.
Just maybe it'll give me your whiteboard.
Okay, I see it.
So I see it. Does everybody else see it? Strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, threats?
Yep.
Okay. All right. We got it then.
Right. All right. So if you can use your mouse, you can click on the T over to the left side of the screen and you can fill in some for your chapter. We'll just kind of do it together so it won't be like all about the same chapter, but just to kind of think about some of the things that you might put in there. And let me see here. To get over here.
Scrub camps.
All right, so I was going to read some. You can continue, you can write in some there too. We'll move them around as we need to. So maybe maybe you have long-term leadership on your board, even if there's not as many as you like. That's a plus. You've had a successful gotten a delegation together this year. Maybe a weakness might be turnover of leadership or lack of diversity. Maybe doing the same thing year after year. Maybe you need some new ideas. External things might be, like I said, new families. That could be internal or external, I suppose, but maybe you have relationships with local businesses that have shown interest in helping support in one way or another. Of course, the threat would be pandemic, global affairs, just safety and maybe loss of venues. We've already mentioned that tonight. Somebody was talking about that. So those are just some things to kind of think about. But if your group is doing this together, you're going to have new leadership, maybe people just coming on the board. And and it's people who've been around for a while. And I think it's good. It's a good exercise because you are kind of looking at, together you're looking at things, and it gives you a chance to then go from here and then see, well, what direction does our chapter need to go, and what things do we need to, maybe you see some strengths that would help offset some of the weaknesses or threats that you have, and so forth. So long-term community support, it's definitely a plus. Financially stable, great. Strong JB, excellent. Let's see, weaknesses, finding leaders.
Oh, yeah,
Yep, lack of volunteers.
that's a big one.
Effective transition of leadership. Partnering with LMOs, that's great opportunity. External sports camps, increased cost of housing. Those are great. Not great, but they help you see they help you see the problems. So let's go ahead and if everybody more scholarships. Let's see. Need that one. General information. Yeah, general information is lost. I assume you're talking about going from just like institutional knowledge. The board changes over. That's one thing we would do at our retreat. We would try to have the previous board member and the new board member overlap and have time to talk some at the retreat. I mean, you can't do everything, but that was if we had a lot of turnover. More scholarships to make it more attainable. Yes. All right, that's great. Global conflicts. Yes. All right. Wonderful. All right, I think we can let's see if we can switch back. Do I need to do? I share my screen, close the whiteboard. Okay, so is it okay if I close the whiteboard?
Yep.
Okay. All right, so I'm going to go back to my PowerPoint here. All right. All right, so that gives you an idea of what that activity is, the SWOT analysis. I mean, you don't have to even do it that formally, but that's okay. So we're going to talk a little bit about a mission statement or a vision for your chapter. We did this back maybe, I don't know, 10 years ago for Smoky Mountain. And at that time, we had a lot of turnover on the board, and it was really helpful to kind of get on the same page and decide what we wanted to do, what direction we wanted to head. This is CISB's mission, of course, educates and inspires action for a more just and peaceful world. And the bottom one there is just a little more in depth. Through building intercultural friendships, cooperation, and what I can't see, and understanding. All right. I liked this quote up here. It's hard to see the horizon when you're in the trenches. And that's, I know, where you find yourself so much of the time, trying to get all of the things done that need to be accomplished on the board. Okay, so this is just a little break. Can you all see this? Can you see the chicken? Okay, this is a book. It's going a little fast, so I'm sorry about that. I tried to slow it down, but this is about perspective. You started looking at a chicken, and this is a book that I've used before. It's Zoom. It's the title, and the author is up there in the corner. Istvan Benye, I guess. And what it is, it's actually like, it's a lot longer than this, but I've used it as like a opening activity. Give everybody a page and put themselves in order, because what you're starting with is you're hyper focused on one, just the beak of the chicken. And as you back off, it continues we're not going to follow it very far, but right now we're looking at a little girl playing in this little community. And then it actually was not that, it was the cover of a magazine that this boy's looking at. And where is he? Well, he looks like he's next to a pool, and he's in the ocean, or on a ship in the ocean, and so forth. And so the idea is just that your perspective makes a big difference. You don't always see the big picture, certainly, but you don't know how what you do is affecting other things as well. But it's just a fun activity to kind of, and it goes on, keeps pulling out. But anyway, that's just about perspective. And when you're trying to figure out what your vision is, that's what you're trying to do. You're trying to pull out and then back away from all the details a little bit to see, like, what do you want your chapter to be? The group of people that you have working on your board, how can you envision what your chapter is going to be like in a year or 3 years or 5, and you may not, be there that long. You may be. So anyway, when we talk about vision, we're talking about the destination, what you envision down the road. Mission is your roadmap, like how are you going to get there? So what are you going to do to get there? And then values, this explanation just says, are the guideposts. So they're the things that keep you on track, keep you going. So who do you want to be? What impact? How do you want to be different from where you are now? Or how do you want to be defined? So we went through this exercise, same retreat, so you recognize this, but what I'm going to do is just show you, like, the process we went through, and we probably had 25 or 30 people there at that time. And there were members who had been there many years, and there was a lot of new folks too. We went through the process, and I'll give you the clear list here. And we were trying to look and see, like, what is our vision? What do we want to be different in a few years? So some people were like, well, we got to get more people. So earlier recruiting events. And somebody else, we want to get our name out into the community. We want to be more visible. The next one says become a visible community peace organization, monthly community events. Somebody else said we want to tie in with existing events around the town. Living in Knoxville, we have a very active downtown. Most of the people in our chapter are probably within an hour of, or probably, certainly an hour of downtown, probably, 30 or 45 minutes is more typical. So anyway, though, if you look at some things, we started looking at our list, and we had more than this, but I'm just showing you what we have here. Recruiting was big. You see the word community come out like 3 times here. Actually, it would have been almost in every one, because this says tie in with existing events, and that was talking about community. Getting the name out, being visible. Those were the things that we were focused on at that time, and that's where we wanted to go. So this actually became our vision, our mission statement. And so I wanted to kind of follow this through and show you some of the things that we did in the next, 3-5 years. Oh, I got to get rid of this thing here. Let's see. There we go. Now I got to clear it. That's what I get for writing all over it. All right, clear drawings. Okay, so that became our vision statement. So again, I know we're so often looking for volunteers, and it's really funny. I've had this T-shirt, this picture over here on the right. I don't know that you can read it, but I had never noticed at the bottom of it that it says, "We volunteer for peace," and down here at the very bottom it says, "and mini camp, fun days, cookie-a-thon, recruiting, global youth service project. Anyway, so
There you go.
yeah, that's what we all know. There's a lot to it. But one of the things that I wanted to kind of point out, at least in our experience, was that when you have that vision, at least in your mind, of where you're headed, when opportunities arise, you can evaluate them in light of that, and you can make decisions like, hey, yeah, we'll do this. This is a good direction for us right now. Okay, so this is one of the things that we did, and it was, we do this every year because we're partnering with a local organization. Oak Ridge is close to here, and we have, there's organization there that we would partner with. On International Peace Day, we fold cranes. We have a bookstore downtown that lets us set up a table, and this relates to this story of, and I'm sure I'm not going to say the name right, but Sadako Suzaki is a little girl who became ill from radiation that she was exposed to as a young child, and when she was 12, she said, I'm going to fold 1,000 cranes. I think there was, a story that she would get better. And so it has become kind of a symbol of peace. And so this is what it looks like. We get together, people stop by because of course they want to know what you're doing. And, it's a lot of fun. And we tell them about CISV, have handouts, of course. This is the kids. We don't always make it to 1,000. You can see this is 7 p.m. and we only have 821, but we put updates on Facebook, and it's just a fun activity. And even from there, one thing that's kind of interesting is we started going to the farmers market. Nonprofits can set up free at our farmers market downtown. We have a lot of foot traffic on Saturdays, especially. And we would give the cranes away. So you can see kids would come by and we used them to decorate with, and it was fun. So we could give those away. Our JB were very good to come out. This is another activity that we would do. It's called Pin Where You've Been. Pin Where You've Been. And people would just stop by and put pins where they've traveled recently or something. And it's a great conversation starter. And we did that a few times when we would be at the farmers market with our booths, and we would try to have something like that, and it was enjoyable. Another activity that we did with a local school, this is a school that did not have, was not very wealthy, and the families did not have a playground at first when we first started working with them, but or it was very minimal. We did a project where we collected bottle caps, and we collected bottle caps, a lot of bottle caps, and then they made them into picnic benches. And this was the presentation, and I'm just going to play it. I'm actually going to turn the sound off. We don't really need the sound. But you can kind of watch. Is it coming through okay, the pictures?
Yeah.
Okay. So these picnic tables were made 100% out of plastic caps. Fortunately, we had people in the community, we had the schools, collecting for us, because it took quite a few. And we took them up to Southern Indiana. Green Tree Plastics was the company that had this project for kids. And this was the day when we kind of dedicated them. The kids had not seen them before at the school. And so our CISV JB came, and then the younger kids came out. But it was great because we even had a program at this after school program where the JV would come and lead some activities in an after school program where they had a kindness class. So a lot of our activities worked really well with that class, and it fit right in with their theme. And so it was, not only did we you know, we were able to help and give them these tables where they could go out and eat lunch. I think there was enough for two classrooms maybe to eat. There were also some benches and things, but I mean, they'll be there for a long time. They said you were basically indestructible. So we enjoyed doing that. We did that for a couple of years. And so we were able, I'll kind of skip through this a little bit if it lets me. So that's it. And I was just going to, at this point, just open it up, see if there's any questions, but that's kind of my, my part.
So as far as like achieving your vision, it looks like you did. You got your name out in the community.
Right. And I think that the activities we did helped us grow because we got leaders and we got contacts.
Oh, that's good.
Through those things. Yeah, this gentleman, you know, I don't even know how, I think it was one of the board members knew him. He actually owned a plant that made bottle caps. And so he's here because he said, you know, after so long, these companies can't use the bottle caps anymore because they won't go through the machines. There's an expiration date on them, I guess. So he got involved in helping us as well. So it was kind of
he was your ringer.
Yeah. So, but yeah, we felt like just it, you know, it was good for the JB, but it was also you know, good activity to become more visible in the community. So I think that was our goal. So.
Great. All right. Well, thank you very much, Rita. Any other comments? But I mean, I think that was really clear in your statements when you underlined your community word, and that kind of made like what your vision is, you know, almost easy to pick out then. And you guys came up with some really great things to achieve that.
And I think we had good buy-in because the board had been a part of that process. That's one thing I think makes a difference when you do it together like that. Yeah.
And that's something the JB can be involved in along with the adults. Looks like it paid back in spades.
I'm trying to see how I need to turn this off.
Yep. Well, if you can hand it back over to me, I'll wrap up a little bit on just a few other things.
There you go.
Okay. I am host now. All right. So.
Oh, I gotta push stop share. There it is. I knew there was.
Yeah, there we go.
Right here somewhere.
So I'm just gonna share my. I'm gonna have to go there. Share my screen. And where am I? Okay, so I just wanted to point out just another resource here regarding board retreats. There is another PPT here, Visioning for Your Chapter. And this is, you know, just another resource that you can look through. A lot of it overlaps and is very similar. So I'm literally gonna just whiz through this, and I'm not exactly sure where it came from, and it might be Jacksonville, because at the end of it has an example of a Jacksonville initiative. But it kind of just goes through some of the same things. And if you've kind of been through kind of like business retreats and all, there are some similarities in here. The stages of team development, the forming, storming, norming, performing, and like I said, I'm not going to go through this whole thing, but I just wanted to let you know what was in here in case you wanted to look at it in more depth, because there were some things that were activities that were built into this, but We don't really have those activities, so the SWOT analysis, which is what we just did. Brainstorming goals. A little bit about goals from CISV International, which is good to take in. Be active in the local community. Well, that's just what was done there. Objectives that are smart. Again, a lot of these are taken right from business. And this had an example of a JB Jacksonville strategy. With ways to get to that goal. With a few book references for strategic planning. So just wanted to let you know that that was in this folder. Again, they have the agendas here. Rita, yeah, you do need to update this because I think you have changes to that, so we can get that up here. So again, this is in our chapter development shared drive in the chapter development workshop area. And then this is session 2. And then when this recording is done, we'll put the recording in this session folder for you. So I will stop my share there. And with that, we've kind of hit the end of what we plan to present. Maybe people will watch this recording later. I don't know. Anyway, any questions from the attendees? Glad you showed up. Glad you were with us. No, just a good night, right? All right, guys, have a good evening. And thanks for joining us.
Really good feedback and hearing, some new stuff is always great and helpful. So thank you.
Actually, some of those things would be really like the crane folding and that would be great for community fairs.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wrote that down. We've been doing bracelets, which are not as cost effective as making cranes. So we've been like making beaded bracelets, which cost a lot of money.
Yeah.
And also to have goals, like create 1,000 cranes today. That's what we want to do.
I did love that. And even that, just the simple putting a pin on a map where you've been, I think that's a great way to get people involved and not expensive to do. So.
It's a conversation starter.
Exactly. Yeah. And then they want to know, well, what do you do? And the kids are there telling where they had traveled, and yeah, it was very effective for us.
Okay, so Megan, the only one who hasn't been to a board retreat, you got to take this back.
Yeah, as a local leadership trainer, I'm definitely I had ideas when I was going through the training of getting the board involved, making them come to the trainings that I, have to do for all the leaders and stuff, because I think it would just be helpful information for them, because some of them have kids who have gone, but they themselves have never gone to a camp before. That's so true. It's background information that they're not necessarily privy to by just being on the board. So yeah, very interesting.
Our local leader trainer from years ago, he would always just come to our board retreat and give that training, give a half-hour intro training for people that aren't familiar with it.
Lots of good ideas, and I'm definitely gonna mention it to everyone, see if we can get them on board with doing that.
All right, sounds good. All right, thanks everyone. Have a good evening.
Bye, thank you.
So long.